Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second half of Maximum Occupancy 2024. I hope you've enjoyed the first half of the day. My vision was always to get as much content that is relevant to the industry, and I know that the first half has been, a lot of people been coming up saying, well done on getting the content that I did. The second half of the afternoon, we're going to start off with a fireside chat with someone in the industry who I've just seen her rise from, not a junior, but we've known each other for a while. And then we've got TikTok, one of our keynotes speaking. Then we've got reviews as well, and then our roundtables at the end of today. So I'd like to welcome on stage Shaizeen Contractor, Chief Commercial Officer for Trilogy Hotels. Please welcome Shaizeen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, tell us. I'll call you Shay. I better not fall back. Tell us who you are, what you do.
My name is Shai. For most of you, I think it's Shaizeen, but we control our short names in Australia. Otherwise, people get carried away, and I have Shazam and all sorts of names
Shazam. Really?
in there. So I decided it's Shai and stick to Shai. But I am a mum, a wife, a mother, a daughter. I've got 2 beautiful kids, and I am also the Chief Commercial Officer for Trilogy Hotels, which is a new startup hospitality independent management company.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your rise. Where did you start in your career?
So hotels have been in my family. My grandfather used to own a hotel back in India. So I grew up in hotels, would often stand behind the registration desk and say hello to customers as they checked in. In those days, it was a book that you wrote your name in. There was no such thing as ID.
I know.
So we have no idea who actually stayed, but that was okay. And I came to hotel school in Lura 24 years ago.
Wow.
And I loved every minute of it. I think that allowed me to decide that hospitality was truly in my blood, and it's a career that I wanted to move ahead with. And after studying up here in the Blue Mountains, I went to the US to work for 8 years. I worked in Orlando, Miami, Maine, New York. I started off in front office. So I was doing front office, front desk, did manager in training, did duty manager, did food and beverage as well.
Everything.
And did operations very, very thoroughly. There was no concept at that stage of revenue management.
Okay.
It was very prevalent in the airlines.
How did they do it back then?
You had
My
two
father
rates.
was a travel agent, so I
You
remember
had two
back
rates.
then.
There was a high season rate and
Yeah.
a low season rate, and you looked at what was booked. There was no distribution. There was no hotels.com or Expedia or any of that then. And then 9/11 happened, and the opportunity to start doing revenue management in a bit more strategic manner came about. And one of my senior leaders said to me at that time, she said, "Oh, you look to be an analytical person. We've got to figure out if you want to have a change in your career. So would you like to take this as an opportunity and learn something about revenue management?" And I never looked back. I did revenue management for 4 hotels in New York City, and then had the opportunity, or made the decision, I should say, to come back to Australia and call Sydney home. So when we came back, I then worked at Accor for a little while. I then moved to TFE Hotels as the Chief Revenue Officer there for 11 years, and then worked in Hilton for the last 5, and I just started with Trilogy 3 months ago.
So what do you do at Trilogy? What does a chief commercial officer do?
So simply, I make money. I make money simply.
Okay, that's good.
that's the foundation of what the commercial lens lends to the business. In all seriousness, it's about looking at the business holistically to understand marketing drives demand for the business. Sales captures that demand, changes it into leads, creates conversion. And then you've got revenue management and distribution that actually optimizes that demand that's been generated. So the lens of a commercial leader is about making sure that all those 4 different areas align, working in partnership with operations to then be able to deliver superior top-line results for the owners that we work with. And distribution is not only about let's sell everything everywhere. It's being very strategic about which market segments add the most value to your business, who is the customer that you want to tap into. And I think we often underestimate how much we actually don't know who our customer is.
Yeah.
And this applies to even small businesses, right? In a small hotel environment, as a hotel manager, you can become the commercial leader of your hotel by bringing all the departments together and having the right key performance indicators to drive performance for them.
I mean, let's touch on what you're saying, that a lot of hotels don't know who their customer is. I think they just target everyone. And I mean, you know, at our agency, we sort of do a discovery session. We actually try and pinpoint 4 to 5 different type of personas. And I think that also gets back down to your data. And I think it's very, very important. So tell us a little bit about Trilogy and what do you do? Because it's a relatively a startup. And what do you guys do?
So Trilogy is an independent hospitality management company. Started in October last year by industry veterans who've been around for a very long time and know what they're doing. What we do is we act as the managers of the property. So you may or may not have an owner of a hotel hiring Trilogy as the manager of that hotel, and then we could or could not work with the brand as a franchise partner. So if I just use the example of the Fairmont Blue Mountains, for example, it's Jerry Schwartz's hotel. We work very closely hand in hand with Accor as our franchise partner to drive the top line performance and distribution through the Accor network. But we, as Trilogy, manage the day-to-day operations of the business as well as the bottom line of the business.
Okay, so you've got your staff in there, or theirs?
So the owner's team.
Yep.
And the general manager is Trilogy hired, and we support the entire structure of the team, whether it's commercial, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, revenue, finance, all of it.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about this sort of the white label and sort of that, you know, the future of it. We're starting to see a lot more of it. You know, years ago, you either independent or you're part of BWH or you're part of Choice. Nowadays, we're seeing so many of these white label or what would you call the sort of companies? And do you think it's a model that Australia is a little bit behind in adopting? I know it's been out in America for a while. Yeah.
It was my first job in the US 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
So that's how long it's been around. It just
why didn't it come to Australia sooner?
I think because the model of franchising hadn't been evolved far enough in Australia and New Zealand. And you'll see in the last few years, actually, the big brands have focused very much on building a whole management company model, but also a franchise model in parallel. So in order to get more flags on the ground and in order to grow more strategically in the locations they want to, that franchise model run by operators that actually know how to run businesses well is a benefit to the economy as a whole and the hospitality industry as a whole.
Yeah, no, very interesting. It's all really got to do with your brand as well, whether you want to keep the equity in your brand, whether you keep it or not. Do you operate any hotels under the Trilogy brand or not? No.
No, the Trilogy brand is purely for the owners and is not front-facing. The customer would never know that they are going into a Trilogy managed hotel. It would always be whichever hotel they've actually booked.
Great, okay. So how do you keep yourself growing, learning and challenging yourself? Because as I said, I've seen your career sort of, going from strength to strength.
You've always been a great support.
Thank you.
I think for me, it's about having a growth mindset in everything that you do. One of my previous bosses told me once that if you ever get bored in a role, it means you're stagnating. You need to challenge yourself, move to something different, and learn from someone new. I have, in the last 3 years, been doing my executive MBA on the side, just to challenge myself to learn and expand in areas that I'm not that comfortable with. So subjects like corporate finance, subjects like feasibility, real estate, just to continue to grow and develop. And I think all people coming into the industry, there is so much to learn in this industry.
Yeah.
It's always challenging, it's always fun, but it's about being ahead of the times and knowing when to take opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I went to uni many, many years ago, I did accounting, then in marketing, and I remember my marketing lecturer said that what you've learned in the last 3 years is going to be obsolete in the next 6 months. So never, ever stop learning. So I think that's, and it's amazing what you do that. Do you think the industry is doing enough to promote new entrants or people to come into the industry? Because one of the subjects we're going to be covering tomorrow is the huge staffing issue. Do you think the industry is doing enough and the government is doing enough?
So I do know that there has been some improvement in the last few months. There's also access to some more funding in terms of building out a reputation for hospitality again. But I do think it's up to us as industry leaders and industry
Yep.
peers to make sure that we spread the good name of hospitality and share our stories.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons when you asked me, share your story, I said, sure, because it allows other people to see where this journey can take you. I started off doing food and beverage, and I'm doing something completely different. So
Yeah.
it
Do you think it's
comes
the
back to us.
employers that they don't sort of path out a career? Because I always believe people leave your company because there's no opportunity. They will probably come to your company due to the pay, but they leave because there's no opportunity, there's no career path or anything like that. Do you think that hoteliers, and in this room we've got some major hotel brands, we've got small independents, we've got franchise as well. Do you think that they're doing enough with that to actually map out their career path?
There's always more to be done.
Yep.
I can't deny that. However, it's about making connections. I think one of the things that you can as a leader do is offer yourself as a mentor to young and upcoming hospitality experts, to give them that opportunity to talk through how do we steer your career, where can we move your career, what are the areas that you need to learn more on, and help them develop.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Scott Bear tomorrow from Young Hotel Leaders, programs like that. Do you think there should be more of those sort of programs out there to try and see the young leaders of the younger generation?
To be fair, every single one of the big brands, as well as a lot of the other mid-level brands, all have these development programs.
Yep.
It's about actually putting your hand up and saying, I'm ready for
Yeah,
this
good
challenge,
point.
give it to me, and let me prove myself
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. What advice would you give yourself to your younger self? That's a good one.
I think for me, it's about take every opportunity that's given to you and have a no regrets attitude. When you're young and you don't have a lot of commitments, you can move around, you can try different things, you can fail at different things, but learn from them and keep growing. And if I had to do that again, I would do a few more of those.
Yeah. Okay. What advice would you give to those wanting a career in hospitality?
It's so much fun.
It is fun. Yeah, I was born in travel. You know what I mean. I'm still doing it, but on the other side as well. So final question, then we'll open up to the audience. I don't know if some of my fast track team are there with a roving mic, but what keeps you up at night?
I
Besides
sleep like a baby.
That's what you-
I really
What?
do. I'm too tired.
What keeps you up at night? I mean, you seem like very settled. You know where you're going, but there has to be some issues in the industry that keep everyone up at night. I mean, it's a question I'm going to ask the CEO panel tomorrow. What keeps you up at night?
So I genuinely sleep well, and that's
Good.
in part because I made the decision maybe about 5-7 years ago to take control of my career, my life, and make the decisions I wanted to make and try different things and not have any regrets. The piece that is a genuine challenge for us as an industry is how do we keep getting better and how do we keep enhancing our customer experience. As long as we have a new wave of customers constantly wanting to stay in hotels, we exist and can exist, but it's up to us to create those unique experiences, and it's not easy to do.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people aren't spending what they used to. A lot of people are sort of tightening their purse strings at the moment, and speaking to a lot of even our own hotel customers. I mean, one thing we're seeing is that, post COVID, everyone wanted to travel. Now some normality is coming back in seasonality. Now, we're seeing a lot of food and beverage businesses sort of go bust and all that. So a lot of people are sort of looking what they're spending. What advice would you give to hoteliers now that people are sort of starting to tighten, their purse strings?
The industry as a whole is cyclical and always has been. I know we're worried and panicked that maybe Sydney looks a little softer this time round than it did last year, as just a simple example. But if you go back to 2 years ago, this is just a normal Sydney winter.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that you have a unique point of difference. You can get repeat customers, and that's dependent on the service and the quality of the product that you deliver every single day.
Talking about customers, I brought up in my presentation the old OTA, direct booking battle. To me, I think OTAs are the best thing that have happened to the industry because it's a free advertising channel. What's your thoughts on that and the OTAs? And
It's always a balance.
Yep.
We all need each other.
Yes.
And it's really, if I look at the foundations of distribution, it's about understanding what is the cost of every channel
Data.
that you sell a hotel room on. if your OTA cost is more effective than having 5 people sitting and trying to sell for you, then that's the right opportunity for your specific hotel. And it could be the reverse as well. So it is really a balance. OTAs have given us exposure to thousands of customers that we would never have.
Yeah.
And they're very valuable partners, but it's about how do you optimize that as well.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Anything? No? Shay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Please put your hands together.